Tony, technology, obviously it's changing pretty much all around us. How important is technology these days when buying or selling?
Technology is only as good as the user. I guess there's smartphones.
So it's pretty useless then?
Yeah, if I'm using it. Smartphones, tablets, all of that sort of thing, access to the internet and the data that's now available to the general public on the internet is stuff that was previously only available to through the agencies, and they were able to use that. A lot of that information now is available just generally. So the agent needs to be better at what they do, much more informed of the local circumstances and conditions. But technology, it's there. There's lots of systems, lots of processes, software, hardware, and everything in between. But they've got to be able to use it.
Because I guess 10 years ago then, if a buyer comes into a property, he probably wouldn't know what next door had sold for and all the other houses down the street. Whereas these days, I think some of the banks have apps that you literally just point it at a property and it'll give you all of that information, and some of it for free or for 20 or 30 bucks.
Yep.
Commonwealth Bank has a fantastic app that you can do that. You can be walking down the street, walking your dog, or out for coffee on a Saturday and think, oh, that's a nice property. What did that sell for? Take a photo of it, and there you go. You've got your information.
It's absolutely amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's addictive.
Some of them you don't have to be walking down the street. You can sit at home and go, what's that property there worth? How much did that house sell for? And it's all there readily available for you.
But also the danger for that from the buyer's side is that sometimes they can rely on that too much. And I mean, I always say, and we talk about it on the show when these guys come on, is that if you've got a property and you just spend 100 grand on it, that computer isn't going to know when you take a photograph of that property that 100 grand's been spent.
Yep.
Or if you go and demolish it, you've taken 50 grand out of it, it doesn't take that. So it gives people ideas, but it certainly shouldn't be relied on.
And that's where the agent is able to step in and provide that additional local knowledge that yes, that's what it's sold for, but here's what they've done for that property in the meantime, or look at what else has happened in that street, or this is what's going to happen across the road. A good agent with a good local knowledge is going to know all of those sorts of things and be able to pass that information on. And
it can be tough for these agents, because a lot of the time an agent might have a 4-bedroom in this suburb, a 3-bedder here, 2-bedder there and 1-bedder there. Whereas if buyers are just looking at, say, 3-bedroom family houses, that's all they've seen, and they've seen 50 or 100 of them, they might actually know the market better than the agent. And the agent, it's very hard for them to go into their competitors' properties to have a look around to see what's going on.
Yeah. Yeah, and sometimes if just looking at listings and knowing what's available doesn't necessarily provide the agent with the same knowledge that somebody who's been walking the streets for the last couple of Saturdays in a particular area, looking at properties that are for sale in that area. They will know what every agent has got for sale in that particular area.
Now, sometimes these things like the virtual tools can be a great way of looking at a property, but at the same time, sometimes I think it can actually be bad for the property, because you suddenly make an opinion on it, whereas you're missing something straight away. Like, I know the first property I bought in Australia 10 years ago, I didn't go to see it because the outside of the building was so ugly, I never went there. But suddenly when you go there and you say, well, just like in my tip of the week, is in that case it didn't matter because everything else was perfect, the view was absolutely unbelievable, but something like a virtual tour could have put you off, something like that.
And sometimes the virtual tours, by the same token, can be brilliant if you're looking to move from Sydney to Brisbane or Brisbane to Perth and you haven't got time to go and have a look. A virtual tour can provide you with that access to that property. People are time poor. They need to use buyer's agents. They need to use virtual tours if it's appropriate for that particular property. No point putting a virtual tour on a studio apartment, I don't think. You're still only going to see the view. You
wouldn't get very far. Go around 360.
Wouldn't take long.
Vanessa, a lot of people at dinner party conversations, and maybe this is more in the boom times, love boasting that, oh yeah, I bought this property kind of sight unseen. From a financing perspective and dealing with a lot of first home buyers and investors, how dangerous can that be, not actually seeing the property and relying on some of these virtual tours a bit too much?
Look, I think the virtual tours are glamorised, and they're there for a reason. I mean, you said earlier that, the agent is there to sell the property, so they're going to make the property look as beautiful as possible in order to, make it appealing to the buyer. And look, sometimes people do boast because they think, oh, I'm such a good, investor in real estate that I don't need to go and look. But I really think, having someone like a buyer's agent actually walk through the property and do some research on the area for you, make sure there's not a service station next door or a church or, is it on a main road, all of those things.
Cemetery,
you've got to take all those things into consideration. So, there have been some errors there, and I don't recommend it.
And when it comes to things like Facebook and Twitter, how's that having an effect on the market? Like, we obviously don't think we're very old, but we're kind of old compared to the 18-year-olds out there.
Well, I have a little bit of an issue with agents using social media if they haven't clearly defined for themselves what approach they're adopting. If it's a professional service and they're using the social media as a marketing tool, then that's fine. But if they're also using the same
It's about shrinking on a Friday night
and boasting of their exploits, that can have a fairly serious impact on their on the perception and their reputation. They need to clearly define what it is that they're doing and why they're using that particular mechanism.
Yeah.
And I think people do look. Like, I look at agents that I'm dealing with at their Facebook page, and I don't think it's good if they're saying they're out at midnight on a Friday night and they've got auctions on the Saturday. I think people are really confusing their personal life with their business, and if they want to be successful, people don't need to know that you're out.
So they need to have 2 lives on Facebook, or just delete
or just
it.
not be on Facebook.
If they've got 2 lives,
socials.
they need to have. If they've got 2 lives, they need to have 2 lives on Facebook or whatever the media happens to be.
Yeah.
But same thing. If an agent is only using Facebook to promote their listings, it gets pretty boring from a social point of view as well. They have no other life other than their listings.
Yeah, you've got to put a bit of personality into it, but at the same time, you've got to be really choosy about what you're putting up there. Not everyone needs to know your business.
Exactly. Now,